Hello everybody, welcome back to Cerise. And in this episode, we will be taking to the seas. You like that? It's pretty good, right? That rhyme. I was thinking about that for a hot second. Anyways, welcome back everybody. We are building a European city. It is beautiful. It's kind of got an old town European feel to it. And that the roads are absolutely crazy. And there's not really any sense of real planning yet. But that's just for this part of town. The town on the hill. That's sous la colline, on the hill in French. But we also have this part of town, which is our canal district, which is now called Rotterdam-sur-la-Seine. It was originally called New Rotterdam, but then I got a cool comment to rename this to Rotterdam-sur-la-Seine. And on that, actually, we have a couple district renames we have to do. And sorry, yes, I know it looks a bit uglier now. We're just gonna have to live with it. I think Heather Springs. We definitely can't keep Heather Springs. It's gotta have a different name, right? I had some comments for some name changes. Ville de Travail was originally like a place where people worked, but now it's not anymore. So I think I'm just gonna change it to La Cerise Gare, which is just La Cerise train station. Okay, we have Pont des Soleils, because it's like on the hill, kind of. It's near the sun. And also there was another one, and the last one. We created this village last episode. It's currently called Forest Crossing because of City Skylines 2's random name generator. And, you know, it's actually a pretty apt name because, you know, plenty of trees. And also, it is a railroad crossing. But we will actually instead be naming it another recommendation we had, which was Embranchement des Paysans. And you're going to have to forgive me if my pronunciation's kind of bad. But this was a recommendation. I think it means Peasants Junction. Yeah. So, there we go. Embranchement des Paysans. And there's still some other places we need to name still, like Pinewood Creek. If anyone has any ideas, please let me know. Elk Grove. Definitely want to change that too. Anyways, a shout out to True Darklander for those names. I really appreciate it. All right. So, anyways, to what we were doing today, we are expanding into the sea. And what I mean by that is I am going to expand Rotterdam-sur-la-Seine, maybe even calling it a new district, down south this way. And I do plan to also create a seaport on either side here to finally connect up to the water, because we have, you know, oceanfront access, but we don't have any sort of seaports yet. And heck, I mean, we have 13,000 people. I think we could afford it. And we have 19 development points. So I figured, you know what? It's time to invest in the city. And I say we invest in the sea, which has been there with us this whole time. So anyways, with that, we are going to jump into time lapse. I'll see you there. All right, so jumping into the time lapse, I actually did not start with the seaside district just yet because I was just checking in on the city and I saw that my unemployment percent was 19%. So I decided it was maybe time to do a little bit of something for that first. So I decided to expand my industrial park a little bit. I saw there's this little empty space where the railroad track kind of spun around to access the cargo train terminal. So I decided that would be a pretty nice space to just, you know, keep it going. And so I drew out some more roads and zoned out some more industry and office, and also a commercial space or two. I also decided to zone a little bit more office up by the corner because I didn't want people to have to go all the way to the industrial park to work, right? You know, there's got to be some other opportunities in other parts of town, right? So, especially because, you know, this is a European city, I don't want Euclidean zoning, right? I don't want all my offices to be like a million miles away from everything, right? So I decided to put some over here, and you know, this is not a very central location, but it's at least a bit more convenient for people living in Sur la Colline, for instance. And so I drew out some offices over there in that little corner and decided, okay, they'll be fine. And so it was around this point I decided it was time. It was time for me to expand to the sea. And so I thought I would flatten a bit of land, and I wanted to continue the kind of canal feel of Rotterdam-sur-le-Seine. And so I decided to make this road into a seawall, just like the rest of the canals. So to do that, I unfortunately had to draw out a bunch of land and then also get rid of the water, and then draw out this little valley so that the road would give a little wall, a retaining wall. And, you know, I had to get rid of the water because if I didn't, it would have given me all these errors like, oh, you can't do this in water, oh my god, because this game goes crazy if you do anything in water. Just like the first game. So, you know, anyways, I started drawing out some roads. I didn't want to go too crazy because, you know, obviously there's this massive cliff right next to the water. So I decided to just draw this little strip of land to zone on. And then I decided, well, this cliff is so crazy, I may as well just add a bit of a retaining wall there too, just to, you know, acknowledge that there's a hill there. Because I feel like just like having the road right up on the hill without a wall just kind of makes it feel like you're pretending like it's not there, and I didn't want to do that. And so once the retaining wall was done on the water, I started taking out the land mass I had created to block off the water to allow the ocean to come back to its natural position, except not really anymore because there's a seawall, but oh well. And yeah, and so I drew a couple roads connecting the two sides of this little strip of land, and after doing a little bit of land cleaning up because there was this weird bumpiness of the land on the road with the wall, I did some zoning. I zoned a bit of mixed use housing as well as some medium density housing, following a very similar approach to what I had done in Rotterdam-sur-le-Seine. And yeah, I felt like it looked pretty good. I drew paths where I could to make sure that I could zone as much as possible, because I always hate it when, you know, I can only zone on one side of a road because they're slightly too close, or if they're at an angle, it kind of bothers me. So I fixed some places where that was needed. Then when that zoned up, I was realizing, well, I mean, if we're gonna have this side be all built up, we should get the other side, right? It would look a bit asymmetrical if we didn't put a seawall and then build up on the other side of that little bay that we have. So I decided to buy more land and start developing there. And as soon as I bought it, I realized the land was crazy steep. I was once again going to have to flatten out a bit of land, both to allow myself to create a seawall once again, because I wanted to keep that going, but also I needed to have at least a little bit of flat land in order to place a seaport. And by seaport, I mean a harbor. So I really wanted to allow people to, you know, access this town through boats and through ships, and I thought that'd be really nice. So I created this curved road, which I thought looked really nice, kind of following the shoreline. And then I was like, oh wait, I can't build my harbor right on this seawall. So I had to create a little chunk of land past the seawall, which maybe looks a bit dumb, but it kind of had to happen. It's unfortunate, I know, but I tried to make it as normal looking as possible through a couple ways. I first created this little alley. I really wanted the alley to have a retaining wall, which took quite a few tries, but I finally got it, and decided to kind of make it shoot off and have a little bit of like a roundabout to kind of create this sort of dock slash pier slash, I don't know, lookout point. And yeah, I thought it was kind of cute. And I tried to draw out just a little bit of land from the harbor just to make it look sort of natural, that the building was required to be on land rather than in the water itself, which I still feel like is kind of dumb. But oh well, what are you gonna do? And then because we didn't really have that much land to work with on this side, and flat land I mean, I drew out some alleys and some tight roads to zone on later. I let the water come back to the seawall, and it looked pretty nice. And then I took out the water yet again because I realized it would be a really cute spot right here on this seawall to put some little docks and places for, you know, little like boats for the people who live here to own, you know. So it was difficult because I kept running into this glitch where my roads just automatically start at you see it's at 0 meters, right? Or it was at 0 meters, and it was still like going really high. So I had to do some weird workarounds. And sure, I could have fixed it by restarting my game, but I was just so into it that I really did not want to do that. So, oh well. I ended up just drawing out the piers as well as I could with that limitation, and it worked okay. And then I realized I had this weird awkward space between the three, so I decided to make this one slightly different. I thought I'd make this one purely just for like pedestrian kind of lookout area, just to have a cute little different thing. And sure, it's a bit weird that it's just like a circle and you can only go around it, but I don't know, I thought it was fun. Okay. Oh, okay, here's the really sad part. I tried to draw out my districts to reach the boat, but I realized the connection was so far I didn't have enough land permits. I had 13 and it still wasn't enough. I was like diagonally away, and I was like, okay, well maybe can I through like diagonal land can I draw it, and it was no. So unfortunately we do not actually have any sea connections right now. We just have the illusion of one, so that's okay. We're just gonna have to settle for now for this non-functioning seaport. It's there for aesthetics purely right now, but don't worry, in the future I will remember, hopefully, to draw out the actual connection to the harbor so that we can actually access boats. So don't you worry. I then started zoning on this chunk more mixed use housing because of course I wanted to keep this whole area on the water looking pretty similar. And yeah, it looked really nice. I put like this kind of ring of single family homes. I don't know why I did it, but I thought it looked cool. Like, I don't know, these like 6 like arbiters of the sea. I don't know. I don't know if it made sense to put them there. I mean, I didn't want to put any like big buildings there because I saw there was the massive hill. So I just thought I'd put those houses there because it would be fun. And I also put this cool little garden with these circular bushes with my line tool because, you know, it's my favorite thing and I have to use it every single episode. And I also connected up the area a little bit better by just zoning along this cliffside. But yeah, it was at this point I was feeling really happy with it. So happy with it, in fact, that I was like looking at the map of the city and just like feeling really content with how it all looked. I did a couple small adjustments, making sure that cars could access it well. But I will also, in the future, try to make this area a bit more pedestrian friendly. And I definitely want to expand some transit options to here. I did at the very least, add some bus connections here. I think I drew out the Rotterdam line going out here. And so that was nice. But I do plan to introduce a tram line to this city soon. Not this episode, but sometime within the next couple. I think it is soon. It's been a long time coming, and I think this city needs it. So yeah, after checking in on some parts of the city, I was roughly happy with where I was. I was looking at certain parts and doing some small adjustments. For instance, I made this alleyway into a pedestrian path because I figured, well, hey, people are just gonna want to like hang out on this, right? I don't want this to be like a car dominant road. So yeah, I looked at it, I thought it was like a really cute view. And so yeah. So that's gonna be all for this episode. Thanks for joining me. And please let me know if you have any ideas for names for, especially a name for this new town that I created. I could just extend Rotterdam sur la Seine, but I don't know, I feel like it sort of has its own character. And also please comment if you have any ideas for future developments in the city. I'd love to know what you think. So anyways, with that, I would like to end us off with some cinematics. Please enjoy.